And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TBM crew. Today, I'm with Aaron Lebold, horror author who just released his second novel, right? How are you, Aaron?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so happy to have you here. Why don't you tell us a couple lines about you?
Um, just about me in general. I live in
Yes.
Ontario,
Mm-hmm.
writing probably since 2017, like seriously writing. So it's been a process, but it's been super enjoyable. Met a lot of
Yes.
really cool
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
And you are also a musician, right?
Not really. No. Once upon a time, I tried, but like I did make a CD at one point, but like it's embarrassing. Like I wouldn't want anybody to hear it.
No.
I kind of like realized that about writing though, like how much I learned about the industry and about writing and all that stuff. And like the whole time I did music, I didn't really learn anything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think the right place with writing because I feel like I'm good at it and I actually care about it. Whereas music, it was just about the writing. I think that it was attracted to me to music. Right? It was the lyrics and like the
Mm,
content.
okay. And has it influenced your writing, that experience with music?
Just in the sense of like with music, it was always important to me that it said something, and I think with writing, that was sort of the idea too. And I'm still finding my footing on like how exactly I want to express myself, but
Yes. Mm-hmm.
the entertainment, but at the same time, like, wanted to say something and wanted to be relevant somehow, right? So I think in that sense, music definitely inspired it.
Yes. Well, I guess it's another way of telling a tale with music
Yeah.
lyrics, right? Of expressing. And you just released a novel, right?
Yeah.
Yes, tell me about it.
It's a little bit more twisted than some of the other stuff I've written.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Born. Yeah,
Yes.
it's my first publishing, and it's going really well so far. It's getting pretty good reviews, so it's kind of humbling. It makes me feel good. Like I'm seeing a lot of good reviews, and it's optimistic for it. I'm hoping to try to get my name out there a little bit so I can, keep writing and people keep reading it. So that's kind of the
Mm.
plan.
Yes. And can you give us some hints about the thread?
Like about the plot line of it.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
Basically, like I don't know, like I read like horror kind of stuff, right? So like my thoughts were like a lot of it's been done. So I'm trying to think of like what's scarier, and it's like thinking about like professions that you trust. So it's about like
Yes.
doctor, like
Mhm.
profession where we all like just go into it thinking, I can trust this person, and showing a twisted side of that lifestyle. So I had to do a bit of research about it because I don't really know much about doctors and stuff like that. And no, it was fun to write, and that's kind of basically what it is. It's about twisted doctors
Mhm.
and like, yeah,
Yes, I guess um, most of the fears we have with psychopaths is exactly that they are hidden behind a regular person.
exactly. Stuff like slasher films and like all that stuff. Like I love watching that kind of stuff, but like it's just been done so much. It's really hard to come up with new
Yeah.
ideas. Like I don't know. That's why I'm trying my hand at different stuff, but I kind of like my stuff to be somewhat based in reality. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Yeah, a bit more creepy, where it's like something that could actually happen. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Even if it could still technically happen.
Yes, exactly. And how do you build your characters? Do you tell a
Um,
lot about the background?
Not. I mean, I think I try to like my concept has always been don't put anything that's not going to advance the plot. So if it's like something that is needed to be told to kind of like understand who they are, try to do that.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, when I first started writing, I really wanted to keep not a lot of information about the main character so that whoever the reader was could kind of build that for themselves and like
Yeah.
customize it to edit. But I'm kind of finding that it's more essential to build some of that like based on my vision because people are reading a book because they want to see my vision of it. So it's
Yes.
a lot of a learning process, right? So I mean, I'm working on that, on developing my characters a bit and finding my balance as to exactly how I want to do that. So right now it's kind of like I feel like it's enough that you feel like you know the characters, but like not
Yes.
going into. I'm kind of like what you call like a pantser or whatever. I just write my book as I go, right? Like I start an idea and then I'll write it to a certain point as far as that idea goes, and then figure out from there what the next steps are going to be. So,
Yes. And can you relate to any of your characters? Is there any special one for you?
not really. I mean, like I worked in addictions for a long time, and like that job is kind of like empathy, like being able to put yourself in someone else's position. So like when I write, I kind of use that skill and just like create the character and like kind of put myself in their position as best I can, even if it's something that I can't really relate to. So it's like over a long period of time, and I feel like it really helps me with my writing, even if like the characters aren't really ones you'd want. That's part of addictions too, right? Like you hear a lot of stories, it's like you don't want to relate to that, but you know, you kind of have to, right? So like if you, even if you don't really want to like, you know, empathize with people, it's like it helps to really be able to understand them, I guess. And I don't know if that's what you mean.
What's been the most challenging scene to write?
I think like with a lot of the like gorier scenes and stuff like that, I think some people like try to get shock value, and I think it's difficult. It's kind of a tricky to write it so it's like descriptive, but not like you're trying to be shocking or you're trying to disgust people. It's like you want it to like flow with the story and like, you know, add to the storyline properly without seeming like you're trying to be like extra to get attention. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, that is just not for the sake of the gore, right? So there's a story behind.
Yeah.
And how is your experience with the publishers, with publishing?
I mean, it's a road. I had I first Genocide is my first book, and I published it in 2020, and then I published 21, and then last year both of those publishers went under within 2 weeks. So I went from having 2 published books on Amazon to having nothing.
Whoa.
James from Gloomhouse, him and I we've been talking for a really long time, and we've like gotten him a friend of mine, and when he picked up Genocide with Gloomhouse. So that brought that back to life, and then I found D&T. I actually submitted to Born Sick like a year ago, so it's been sitting on there. When you have a publisher, there's a line to get out, right? Like they have another one that they're going to publish, but not till next year of October. So it's like, if you want to go with the publisher, sometimes you have to wait, you know. But
yes, well, and have you considered self-publishing? Do you know that world?
I never wanted to do it personally. I know I don't see anything wrong with it, but like the way that I see it is like, for one thing, if like you're looking for a book to read and you look at one that's put out by a publisher, at least that means that somebody has read that book and decided that it's something that's worth your time because it's worth their. So to me, that kind of weeds out. I'm not saying that, like, there's a lot of really good self-published books, but I also good at promotion. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know business very well in general, and that's like what deal with the business. So, you know, both the publishers that I use right now, I trust very much, and I trust them with my work. And like at this point too, like I'm not in it for the money. Like you self-publish, you get 100%. If you go with a publisher, you don't. But I mean, like, get famous or rich off this. I just like want to keep writing and try to get my work out there. Right? I still have a job. Like it's, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Self-publishing, you have to take care of everything also. It's, well, there are 2 different roads, I guess.
And the other thing too is like when you work with a publisher, like you have to submit your work and get approved. And there's a certain element of like feeling like I always want to feel like I'm getting better, and I always want to feel like you write it and you're satisfied with it and you self-publish it. Like there's no other eyes being like, well, you could have maybe done this a little better or done that a little better, or you know what I mean? Like, or like you know, some of these publishers will have to get it edited for you, which is like a big thing too. Like perks to using a publisher, especially if you're using a good publisher. So for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I guess it's some people like to have the control over their everything that involves the publishing, the promotion. But I guess, as you say, going through a publisher has a lot of filters because unfortunately there's a lot of self-published out there, not in horror. I mean, that they have these kind of filters, as you said, being approved, being worth the time of a publisher to publish it. So yeah, I guess I see what you mean. And
And
do you
they
like
call,
movies?
yeah, yeah, I like movies. I like the old school horror movies and a lot of that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Yes, and what kind of movies do you like?
I I love Wes Craven. I loved all of his stuff. Nightmare on Elm Street was probably what got me started onto horror when I was a kid. A little bit
Yes.
of I always like Nightmare on Elm Street because Freddy was like funny, like he had a quirky like sense of humor to go with it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
um, no, it's like some of the stuff that Wes Craven did, like The Hills Have Eyes and like Last House on the Left, like stuff that like I don't know, like Last House on the Left when it came out, it was like a huge deal. Like I was still
Mm.
too young to when I know it changed things a lot. I think now it wouldn't be so shocking, but at the time it was pretty like it pushed a lot of boundaries, and I think I like that idea. You know,
Yes. And that the horror from the 80s, um, it's much more, in my opinion, visceral. It's more sensorial because now it's everything Photoshop, so to speak. And I think it was completely different.
more suspense and more story and more build up, right? Like I think nowadays it's all like it has to be one serious action scene after another to keep the what I mean, some people entertained or interested in moving forward. Where like if you talk to someone who's like 17 or 18 and you're like, oh, check out The Shining, it's really good, and they'd watch
Yes.
them. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, but those kind of movies, I think you didn't only watch the horror part of the movie, but also how did they do that? Because it was
Yeah.
everything made with their hands. So it's I think it has a lot of value because the movies nowadays, I have a lot of disappointment on them. Do you have any big disappointment on any movie you've watched, a horror movie?
A lot of the remakes and stuff like that. The biggest
Yeah.
one it was the Freddy one where like they made him a pedophile and like he was a child killer in the original ones, but like when they cross that line and say he's a pedophile, it just makes him even more like what I mean. It's like part of me really likes to like Freddy because he's funny and he's you know what I mean. But like when they
Yeah.
do that, plus it's
Mhm.
like Robert Live. So if you're doing a Freddy movie, why would you use somebody else who's not Robert Englund? So I don't know. That bothered me, but
Yeah.
because I haven't really I haven't really kept up too much. I just have a DVD player at my place right now. Like the last year, I moved out of my house and stuff and started over, so I haven't, you know what I mean. I haven't
Mhm.
really got to, but yeah, that's kind of stuff. Like where it just seems like it's all been done before. Maybe that's where with writing too. I try to write something different. That's not something that I feel like has been done a million times.
Yes. And do you like the kind of horror that is about demons? Do you like demonology?
Sometimes I'm not a huge paranormal's not really huge of my thing.
Okay.
But some of it I like. I don't know. I mean, some stuff like zombie. Like I love the original Dawn of the Dead, like the
Yes.
very very first. And
Yes. Those were
um,
amazing movies.
but I work with kids too, and there's one kid right now that we're going through a lot of these old black and white movies. Like I showed him the original Night of the Living Dead and
Yes.
like Shop of Horrors, and like it's kind of cool to go back through that he's interested in some of the stuff, like the and like just some basics. Right, it's pretty cool. Nosferatu, like
Ah, yeah. Well, those are very funny. It was fun horror. It has
yeah,
nothing to do with nowadays. I guess as we are not impressed anymore with anything, they just have to remake the old ones that worked. I don't know. Maybe that's why they make a lot of remakes.
going for the right? Oh, I loved that when I was a kid, or I want to show that to my kids, and like here's a new one. Let's show them that one, right? Like I don't know. There's a
Yes.
couple okay with, but a lot of them is just like nah, you know.
Yeah, not good. They should have left them the way they were. Just the
Yeah,
legend there. It's much better.
yeah.
And do you have anything from your childhood that influences your work now?
Um, I don't know. Not really. I mean, just like the horror. I mean, I did start watching horror and stuff when I was pretty young, and
Hmm.
But other than that, I don't know.
Do you remember your first horror movie?
Um, it would have been one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I think I remember I used to like there's a couple times I stole money from my mom's purse and went and rented Nightmare on Elm Street. I do remember Friday the 13th being on TV, so it would have been edited for TV, I think, but it still scared the hell out of me. I was probably really little, and it was
Yes.
like later. It's not even Jason; it's the paramedic guy dressed up like Jason. But that's like one of the worst ones, and I was like scared of that when I was a kid. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, sometimes something that you watch when you're a kid, it stays with you forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Cemetery really freaked me out.
hmm?
Like,
Yes.
yeah, and like the remake of that, it's like it was okay, but like I don't know. I mean, it's double edged. Like if they make it exactly the same as the original, it's like cool, but like if they change it, it's like you're angry that they changed it. So it's like kind of a no win with you know what I mean? Remakes.
And with your experience, which one would be your advice for new authors? Something, some mistake you would avoid, or something you have learned?
I would like say honestly, like take your time. Like you write a book, it's like really easy to like want to just get it out there as soon as possible. And like I know like when I first put Genocide out, I don't think it was
Yes.
really yet. Um, and I got like a 1-star review on it on Amazon, and I was first frustrated. And I read it, and I actually went back through the book, and I'm like, you know what, that person was completely right. And I spent 3 months rewriting the entire book. So like what you read now is like completely different than the original 2020 published version. Same
Okay.
story, like the writing was, but like I thought it was as good as it was going to be at the time. And then as you grow as a writer, you look back and you're like, wow, I could have done this a lot differently, right? So
Hmm.
it's I don't know, that's what I would say is just make sure like take your time and make sure that it's what you want, like have other people read it, and like be open-minded too, right? Like a lot of people aren't very open-minded of like, no, I'm the writer and this is
Yeah.
how it is, and it's okay, but
Yes.
like and you still got to look at yourself and like you know what I mean, look at who you're showing. If you're showing it to someone who's got experience, maybe listen to what they say. You know what I mean? You don't have to
Yes.
change it, and just be open-minded and listen to people, really.
Hmm.
You know.
Well, that's a good position to have in everything in life, actually. Just to not to assume that you're right and the others are wrong. It's a wise, a wise
Not
position.
grow anymore if you feel like you're already the best you can be. If you're open to the idea that like you can get better, you're going to keep
Mm.
growing. But if you're as good as you're going to get, then you
Yeah.
probably are, you know.
Yes. Which is a sad thought that you're as good as you're ever gonna be. I mean, you can't be better than what you are. So well, and now that you mention that bad review, how do you deal with bad reviews? Because each writer is different with that.
um I think it's always a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, it's like anything where you're putting yourself out there. Like if you're
Yeah.
gonna get in any kind of a field, like you're putting yourself out there by doing this. There's gonna be someone who criticizes you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like no matter how good you are, it doesn't matter. Like everybody has different thoughts and feelings and opinions. So I mean, like I try to look at them and just analyze them. Like it was that one bad review that really like actually really helped me, because it like
Mhm.
maybe it wasn't like super nice, but like the
Yeah.
content, you know what
Yes.
I mean? It's people being mean. People
Yes.
don't.
Mm.
The way I see it is like you can't let that like deter you to the point of like second guessing yourself. You know what I mean? I think I just my personality, I second guess myself enough as it is. So it's like all this stuff is like trying to help me get better. You know what I mean? And stronger with dealing with that, because
Hmm.
you're gonna, if you're out there ridiculed by somebody,
Yes. Yes. I think that that's also what social media and well internet in general gives us, that people can be very brave to say whatever, to be mean, because I mean a good bad review, it's okay as you say, because you grow and you learn from that. But just the mean reviews, which also exist, like no, my cup of tea, like thank you, that was very
yeah,
useful. So if you were in real life, they wouldn't come running to you with the book in the hand saying I don't like it.
other like a lot of the times the people that are more popular are the ones that get the bad reviews, because people get insecure or people get whatever, right? So it's like if you write a book and no one's reading it, you're not going to get any bad reviews. So if you
Yeah.
write a book a bunch of good reviews and a couple bad ones, it's like, you know what, people are reading my stuff. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
yes, absolutely. Yes, and even more, yes, sometimes a bad review is a good thing for a horror writer because sometimes you grab a book because of a bad review.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like if I got reviews like this book is messed up and this is a bad review, it would be like, okay, well, like the people that are want to read this book, that's what they're looking for. So,
Yes, I
exactly.
think yes, that's exclusive from the horror world, I
Yeah,
guess. Well, maybe with movies is just the same. I don't know. But I think well, maybe the reviews that are mean, I don't think you should even read them because there are a lot of authors that are very that they are not confident,
yeah,
and which I understand because as you say, you expose yourself. Even if you draw, if you I don't know whatever, you have a business that to attend people, you are exposing yourself. But there's a lot of people that is fragile, and I think that they take time to learn that it's not personal. That person is just mean,
yeah.
and it's mean to me and to everyone. So I don't know if you would have something to say to the authors that are not confident as you are.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of me too, right? But like the thing is, if you want to grow and you want to keep getting better, you have to like figure out a way to cope with that, right? As part of the process, it's just kind of accepting that like that's gonna happen, and like if it's hard to hear it, then you got to figure out a way to work through it and make it so it's tolerable because it's gonna happen, right? It's like,
Mm,
or again, right? If someone's like doing that, they're probably insecure. If someone's coming onto my book and just saying this sucks for no reason, they're
yeah,
probably they probably like makes them feel better to try to put other people down. Like I'm sure there's people that's what they do, go on their computer and write bad reviews for everybody for a whole
yeah,
afternoon. Less, right? So like if you can look at it that way, it's like less personal. It's more like it's not really my issue, it's more their issue, right? But again, if it's a legitimate bad review, like you got to like take that into consideration and be like, well, maybe I could have worked on this or this, especially if you're a new author, right? Like
mm, yes. They will also always that person that tries to ruin your
yeah,
day everywhere.
right, they're out. And again, like the more, but if you're getting their attention, that means that you're popular enough that they're checking you out, so take it as a good thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's also a lot of writers that use beta readers to have some opinions. Have you ever done that?
um kind of, I mean, like I've like I said, I met a lot of people in this in the author world, and like we've
Mhm.
shared um my current publisher James, me and him would always back and forth on stuff. I was never very good at the grammar part or like punctuation and that kind of stuff, and he was really good at that. So like if I was doing like a short story for something, I would send it to him and he would like help me with that, like, oh, no commas here, no, you know what I mean, and stuff. So with novels, I'm not really sure that I really did. Probably I'm sure I've had people read them, but I'm always sending them to publishers, so the
Mhm.
feedback I get, like having a publisher beta read it, and if they're like, no, we're not picking this up, then this is why, then be the same kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Hmm.
With Born,
Yes.
first
Mhm.
time I sent, I had it written in current tense, and they're like, no, this should be, and so I rewrote the whole thing and changed the tense
Wow.
because that was the,
That's a lot of
no, it's,
work.
again, you want it, you're submitting it to someone who you believe is good and they're on a caliber above yours, and they're saying this is how it should be. And then when I fixed it, I sent it in and to D&T and they picked it up. So obviously the guy was right. You know what I mean?
Yes. I guess having a group of beta readers, it's also very useful for the authors who self-publish because they don't have that
Yeah,
filter of the press.
right.
And I think sometimes we don't give enough merit to beta readers because they are so important. I mean, maybe they are avoiding you huge mistakes when you don't go through a publisher, you can't go through a publisher because at the end they are people that are there to give their sincere opinion on their part of the process, so to speak.
Yeah. And I mean, it depends on who it is, I guess, too, right? But if it's someone
Yeah.
who's just like, I mean, that still is important because that's who you're pitching to, is the average reader, right? But I mean,
Mm.
when it comes like punctuation or grammar or stuff like that. You want someone who's like pretty good with it.
Absolutely. Yes. The better readers are more for opinion, and the grammar and all of that, maybe an editor, I guess.
An editor, like, you know what I mean? Like, like my goal is like 2 books a year. So like editors, to get that professionally edited is quite a bit, right? So having like publishers, that helps a lot take that, you know what I mean? Take that financial. And the covers too, like the covers on both my books are phenomenal, and they were both made by the publishers, right?
Yes.
So like that is pretty cool.
Yes.
Like when I first that I wrote, like the cover that I did, I just took a picture that I took and I kind of went on like Canva or something and added. And I think a lot of people do that. And you look at it, it's like that's cool. But like as you kind of go, you can see like no money was put into that cover. You know what I mean? If I look at my first cover, but at the time I didn't. Now like I see these covers that I'm getting from my publishers. I'm like, those are phenomenal. Like I love those, and they're
yes, they are. Yes.
So again, another perk publisher where it's like, and it's not that like people that are, when you're new, it's not like, it takes time to develop an eye for things. You know what I mean? At least for me, it did. Like when I first started, again, it goes back to that being too quick to say that's good enough. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because at the time it is, but as you learn and you grow, it's like looking back, it's like, wow, I could have done a lot better with that, or you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I guess it's the process of growth. If you have known it before, you would have done it another way, like everything in life.
I think that's the difference between people with longevity and people without, right? Like a lot of people want to write a book, and I think a lot of people can write a book, but I mean, like, it's not going to be perfect. You know what I mean? So it's either write a book and then you expect you can just self-publish it and you're going to be a millionaire overnight. And then when that doesn't happen, people get deflated and don't write any more books. Whereas like if you want to be an author and you really want to write, you're going to keep going and you're going to learn and you're going to write another book and you're going to write another book. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
Again, that's the difference with self-published authors are probably that's the case, right?
Yes.
And it's like, how do you find the good books? And to me, it's like, well, you know, oh, Gloomhouse thought this was good enough to put it out. So, you know.
Yes, exactly. And talking about readers, who is your perfect reader? Who is your book for in the horror community?
I don't know. I think just people that like to, I like to provoke thought. It's more psychological kind of horror in a lot of my stuff. So just someone who kind of style, I guess. I don't know. I don't really put it out to anyone specific, just anybody that likes it. I mean, it's kind of like, maybe I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that are really into horror that you probably wouldn't suspect would be into horror. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you like it, you like it. You're my perfect reader if you like it. You know?
Yes. And just to wrap up, because we're running out of time, where can readers find you and your work?
My books are on Amazon and on Godless, both of them. And then I just have an author Facebook page, which is Aaron Lebold Blogs. I started that before I was really authoring. I was just blogging.
Okay.
So. And then I'm on Instagram, Aaron Lebold Author. Yeah, so those are pretty much my platforms, I think.
Okay, we will link everything below. And do you have any message for the audience? Any wisdom?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on who it is. I mean, if you're writing, like if you really want to write, like don't stop and like don't be afraid to look at yourself and be like, how can I keep growing and how can I learn and you know how can I move forward? Like, you know, never be. We'll go back to that one. Never think you're as good as you're going to be, or else you are.
Yes, exactly. Okay, then thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to finally talk to you and keep me updated on all your projects.
All right.
Okay, have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.